Hello, this is a bit of a different video. I am currently in the middle of traveling and want to just get out a light, just talky kind of video. So I'll be going over my art book collection that I've been gathering since about 2018 of Western stuff and anime related books and talking about them. I haven't collected some art books in a little while, but I'd like to get back into it. And I've always wanted to share my collection of things because I just love collecting things and sharing the stories of them and the memories of them. So feel free to watch this while listening to it in the background, or if you'd like to watch the whole thing, I'd really appreciate it. But yes, I'll be back with some more regular drawing videos in the near future. Alright, enjoy! So, apologies if the audio recording quality isn't the best. This is my first time trying to record a show and tell kind of thing here on my channel. I've just got a tripod and my phone camera, trying to sync it up as best as I can with my desktop audio. So, let's see how we go. But, in regards to talking about art books and animation art books specifically, because that's the majority of my collection, I feel like it'd be best to start with the Western ones, since I do have a little bit less of those compared to the anime ones. I'll go in the order of how I got them and talk a little bit about my thoughts on those movies, how I got the book and my thoughts on the book and everything. So first up, we have The Art of Ratatouille. This is the only Pixar art book I have, and it's probably my favorite Pixar movie, Ratatouille. Maybe Coco, but I think I always come back to Ratatouille. This was one of the first art books I got. I got this in about, I believe, Christmas of 2019, right around when I got into art books and everything. And it's also one of the few I've looked thoroughly through and properly studied from. But there is a lot of really beautiful artworks in here about the process of the filmmaking and everything, from sculpts to background art to character art. Like, there's the cover of the illustration right there. But this movie was in development for a really, really long time, from what I read in here and from what I can remember. It's been a little while since I've looked at it. But yeah, I just really like Ratatouille. I think it's a fun story. I've always really liked it. And the concept art is really special and unique. I'm a big fan of it. Let's see if we can find some of those sculpts. And yeah, this has definitely inspired me a little bit in my art, and particularly in the background department. Next up, I got at the same time a big one. A thing about art books, they can come in a variety of different shapes and sizes. This is a big and heavy one. This is the art book for SpiderMan Into the Spider-Verse, which I'm sure every animation person this is a mainstay in their library. It's a huge book though. This one's dust protector has gotten a little bit damaged from all the moving it's been through. But yes, I got this for Christmas as well in 2018, or 2019, sorry, after the movie had come out. It is a big one. It's got everything in it. And wow, what an influential movie Spider-Verse has been. Pretty much every animated feature and so many background artists that you see on social media and in film and everything today were heavily inspired by this movie. I've got to prop it up just to look through some of the pictures. It's so big. I've looked through this one, but not as thoroughly as the Ratatouille one. So really fun stuff. I apologize, it's a little bit glare. I'm trying to get decent lighting, but I am just using a phone to record. But yeah, a very fun book for a very fun movie. Moving on, we have Clouse, the art of the movie. This, if you haven't seen Clouse, go watch it. It is a beautiful movie. I really enjoyed it. It was probably my favorite movie of 2019 when it came out, so rest assured, I pre-ordered the art book. It took about 6 months to arrive to me. I remember it was just lost in the distribution center, and then they emailed me saying it was shipped, and the next day it arrived, so I think they literally just had it and lost it for a long time. But Clouse is a really, really beautiful movie. It looks 3D to some people because of the lighting, but it's entirely 2D and hand-drawn. But of course I had to get the art book. There is a ton of, like, there's examples of the lighting and everything. The characters, look at that. These environment pieces. It's really, really pretty. I just like this kind of northern tundra Christmassy look to it, and the character designs. Lots and lots of fun. I think my favorite part of these sketchbooks tends to be early on, with the earliest development, because I think it's just really cool. Before the movie looks like it does at the end, you get to see how it transformed and everything, and these fun expressions on the inside cover. But yes. Next up, we have the Art of Wolfwalkers. So Wolfwalkers came out, I think, in 2019 or maybe 2021. At least that's when I saw it. But this was the first cartoon saloon movie that really blew me away. But I got this one for Christmas of 2021, I believe. And yeah, I was poor uni student. I didn't have the money to buy myself art books. Lots of fun development, inspiration from Celtic art and everything, and Irish history. You got storyboards, character designs. It's cool how Robin went from a boy originally. I think it's much more interesting with Robin as a girl, particularly, or personally. But really fun concept art. And this was just a movie I loved. Like, oh, look at this inside cover. Amazing. It's hard to open these books on camera because I'm sitting a bit further back and they are so wide. Lots of detailed stuff about the layout work of the film and the digital work, making it all function. Because they had some digital CG camera work, especially from like the wolf's POV. But just some fun background credit designs, like with these owls and the kingfishers and everything. Very fun movie. I went into the movie completely blind, really, and I loved it. So yeah, that is the Art of Wolfwalkers. And the most recent from my Western collection, we have the Art of the Peanuts movie. This one I got last year as a birthday gift from my sisters. It didn't arrive till Christmas though, so I believe it was like out of print or out of stock, and I just had to wait a long time to get it back in stock. But I love Peanuts in general. I really like the Peanuts movie. It kind of walked so Spider-Verse could run. It's got a lot more technical stuff from what I remember about the development of the film, trying to get that 2D look with 3D. So you got, and trying to really capture Charles Schultz's original artwork for Charlie Brown and the gang, like the proportions and everything, and the expressions, and how that would function in 3D. It was all pretty new technology at the time, or just hadn't really been done in 3D yet, effectively. So there's not as much development art, it's a lot more technical, but there's paintings here, and they just look like stills from the movie, which is pretty crazy how accurate they managed to get the concept art into the final film, which I think is amazing. You don't get to see that happen very often. It's always, well, typically you'll see the concept art for a movie and you'll be disappointed, like, oh, this was so much more interesting, but they just couldn't do it for the technical limitations. Examples being like Elsa's original mink coat was made of living like ferrets and everything in Frozen. But yeah, so Ringling, Frida, all the different characters, all fun stuff. You've got Shermie. And yeah, they got all these expression shots and character shots on how they should look and work, like 3D front on, horrible, cursed looking. But the Peanuts movie is a really pretty one. I enjoy it. I love it. It's simple slice of life from a Western studio, which you don't get to see much. And they got some color scripts here, which is a cool thing. Something I don't like doing, because it takes a long time. But yes, a very underrated movie, I think. And a bit of a harder art book to get your hands on, I think, as well. Now we shall get on to the anime and manga, the real meat and potatoes of my collection. Okay, going in no particular order now, because it's quite a big collection. Let's start with the most recent one, actually, I've gotten in this collection here. This is the storyboards of Mimio Sumasaba, or Whisper of the Heart in English, and also the music video that Miyazaki did called On Your Mark. This is my favorite Studio Ghibli movie, and quite possibly my favorite movie of all time. As far as I know, there isn't a art book for the movie, possibly out of print, but in Japan they do release the storyboards for all their movies as books, and you can purchase them. So I really wanted to get this. This was like the one thing I wanted to get the most on my last Japan trip. I ended up getting it from the Ghibli Park. So Whisper of the Heart was directed by Yoshifumi Kondo, but Hayao Miyazaki did the storyboards for it. So this is the complete storyboards for the movie. I have 2 of these kinds of books now. I'd love to eventually get all of them, but it is really amazing to see how he draws in this kind of storyboard art style, the colored pencils and everything, and how that gets adapted with direction and layout into the final process, and just kind of how accurate and how detailed they are for a storyboard. Like, look at this clock. Now, the actual storyboard pages, I believe, are A3, because I've seen them at the Jubilee Museum. They had some original storyboards and some reproductions that you could flip through. They were A3, but they may have just been scaled up, so I'm not sure what scale Miyazaki actually does draw them. It's definitely not this size, no, they're a bit bigger. But yes, this is like my favorite movie. I love seeing the storyboards. I love just reading a movie that I really like. I've seen a few times. The Whisper of the Heart is really special for me. I've only seen it a couple times because I don't want to wear it out. I just really, really like it a lot. And they always include these little booklets, which I think are more of just, I haven't translated these or anything, or probably looked at it yet, but I think it's just interviews with the filmmaking of it, so kind of the cast and just development of it. Look at that, it's like a layout. Well, I guess they probably did the background art first, or it's inspired by an art piece. I think eventually later on, a lot of Miyazaki's storyboards were watercolored, but this was 1993-ish, so but On Your Mark was a short little music video, so it is entirely watercolored. Next up, we have, which I've shown in a video before, the storyboards for the Castle of Kostro, which I love this movie so much. I've read the book for this a couple times all the way through, just in bed on nights, and I've seen the movie countless times. But I love the watercolor cover here. I got this in 2019, I think, for my birthday. I imported it, or got it on Amazon, but it was an import from Japan. But yeah, I love this book. It's so expressive, and I love just seeing the movie. I've got this movie like memorized. I just love it. I love seeing the movie just drawn out, and this was my first time seeing a film entirely in storyboards, and just seeing it go from drawing to the film final, and there's barely any changes. It's just Miyazaki's direction is so tight, and it was what really inspired me to do storyboarding and everything like that. And this movie's such a big influence on me. It is crazy. I've talked about this plenty in my Cagliostro video, so feel free to check that one out. We'll blitz through it a little bit quicker. A few of these I've shown on camera in the past in videos of mine. So here we have the Pokemon TCG art collection. This was technically my first ever art book before I was really into collecting them. I got this one in 2016 when I went to Japan of school around September time, so it's Gen 6 era, but it's just a history of the art of the TCG. There was a second one that had Rayquaza on the cover, but yeah, I didn't have that one. Lots of cool art in here, fun to flick through. Seeing the evolution of the series, which artists and how their art style evolved and everything. Yeah, I'd love to get an art book like this in the future. I didn't see one, though, when I was in Japan last, so might have been for the 20th anniversary. But yes, I've shown this off in my Pokemon TCG video if you are interested in looking at that. Lots of good stuff from Mitsuhiro Arita. Now, another one I've shown in the video, partially. Here's my Dragon Ball A Visual History. This is less of an art book, and more of just like a visual encyclopedia of Dragon Ball's history and as things released. But there's lots of cool Toriyama art from like covers and everything, and promotional artwork, which I think is cool, and some nice spreads. I'm a fairly big fan of Dragon Ball. I'm not super into it these days. I like the simpler, earlier stuff a lot more. But Toriyama's art is just amazing, and he's such a cool artist, really inspirational. And you can see his art style evolve as well as you go later on. It gets small, but this goes to about 2012, I think, when Battle of Gods was coming out. I got this one in 2020, for my birthday. I ordered it from Amazon. Next up, we have another imported book. I got this one in 2021, I think. So this is Yasuo Otsuka art book. Probably my most specific one. This is just one particular artist. Now, Yasuo Otsuka did a lot of art direction work for Lupin III, so that's kind of why I wanted it. And it was right after I discovered him that he passed away in 2021, so it was pretty... This what kind of inspired me to get this, and I wanted a good Lupin III art book. But beyond that, Yasuo Otsuka loved drawing mechanical works, which is what this book is specifically. It's a collection of his mechanical and vehicular works. So, lots of fun stuff from his life throughout here. I haven't translated it, really. I didn't really have the skills at the time, and it's just hard work translating books. So I haven't properly done it, but plenty of amazing from-life drawings he's done growing up. It would have been so interesting, because he was in his 80s, he grew up during war-era Japan, and then seeing it evolve from wooden buildings and everything to the urban metropolis that it is today, and the vehicles changing over time would have been so interesting and cool, and he recorded that history through his drawings, which I think is really interesting. He was a big fan of Jeeps and everything, and cool little watercolor stuff. And you can see he was one of those early Japanese animation pioneers. You can see his art style and how it influenced a lot of modern day anime, indirectly or directly. So it's a really cool early anime book for me to have, kind of going across the entire genre's history, really, or one of its origins. So, a very nice book. It was about $60 or $80 imported, so a lot more expensive because of the import fees. Next up, we're getting into the proper Studio Ghibli art books. Here is the Art of Howl's Moving Castle, the Japanese version. My Ghibli art books are a mix of Japanese and English, because I've gotten them in Australia and in Japan. This one, my sister got for me when she went to Japan in 2019. Howl's Moving Castle, it's a good movie. I quite like it, and it's got very nice development art here. The Ghibli art books are a bit of a mixed bag for me. They have this amazing development art sometimes, but a lot of the times they'll also just have screenshots from the movie, which, you know, are nice, but I'm always in it for those kind of things you haven't seen before with art books. But yeah, Howl's Moving Castle isn't my favourite Ghibli movie by a long shot, but it can't deny it has some of the best fantasy looks and art direction. Just so interesting, so many cool characters, and such an interesting world everybody would love to live in. If it's not at war and destroying itself, which is one of the main themes. It's kind of an art book, kind of a storybook at the same time. Studio Ghibli's very kind of secretive in their process of making films, or they just don't like talking about it. I know Miyazaki kind of hates talking about it, he just wants to work. But yeah, it's a pretty good book regardless. Next up, we have the Art of Princess Mononoke, or the Art of the Princess Mononoke on this cover. In Japan, the art books have a soft cover. In the West, they have hardcovers. This was the first one I got in 2018 in Japan, along with Porco Rosso. And it's a pretty good one. I love those two movies. And Princess Mononoke was interesting because it actually had a long time of development. Over a decade, I believe. But you got some amazing background art from Kazuo Oga, and they do look like just screenshots till you see how blurry the edges are, because they are the original paintings, not just screenshots. But Princess Mononoke has some of the best... It's one of the best looking Ghibli movies, I think, and some of the best art direction. I'm a big fan of it. I love how it covers, like, peasants and steel workers, mixing with this kind of fantasy era in Muromachi era Japan. It's so cool. One of my favorite movies. I'd love to talk about it someday on the channel further in detail. Got the monkeys and the kodama development stuff. Pigs, the boars. Oh, Miyazaki loves his pigs. But yes, another amazing one. Then, with it, Porco Rosso. A thinner book. It's definitely my top 3 for Ghibli movies. I love this film, and I got this at the same time. It's complete with a shoddy English translation on the front now, but lots of development art on the planes, the characters. I've studied this book a lot. I've like drawn from this book a lot, and I believe possibly at the beginning it shows the original comic. So the Age of Aero Vikings. So it was originally a comic. It was going to be a short film for an airline, I believe. And Miyazaki just ran with it and made it a film that is an amazing film. I love Porco Rosso. It's so good. Alright. Next up, we have The Art of Totoro, which I got 2 copies. I've got the Japanese version and the English version. This one I got from my nana recently as from Christmas. I think it's missing... It's a slightly different printed version, because it's missing the dust sleeve. And the original I got, I think in 2020 or 2021. Around then, a bit. I actually really like The Art of My Neighbor Totoro. It goes in depth, at least an English one at the end, about the process of making the film and the detailed parts of it, like how they colored the line art with charcoal to give it a bit more of a brown look and reflective when they took the photos. But lots of development for early on in the film. When it was originally about just one girl, just Mei, before Satsuki was in the picture. And I think it even has art from when it was going to take place in a more urban environment. The credits, so iconic. Satsuki and Mei. Totoro is a really nice film. It's good. I've seen it in cinemas. I've seen it. Everyone's seen Totoro. I've seen it many times. My like on it waned a bit around 2020 time. My interest on it, but I've grown to like it a lot more since. So yeah, they've got all the art and everything, and then later on, they've kind of got the production report, which is pretty interesting. That stuff talking about people working on it, the team behind it, and Joe Hisaishi there, all very cool. And last up, we have The Art of Spirited Away, which I think I either got this or Totoro in 2020, one or the other. But I was like, I need to have it, because it's the iconic one. Spirited Away isn't my favorite Ghibli movie. I like more of the slower slice of life ones. But if it wasn't my first that I've seen all the way through, it was amazing. It's what kind of spirited away me into the world of anime and everything. Like many people, it's such an amazing story, so unique, so special, and it's got some pretty cool art here, and just nice stills from the movie. Aku and Chihiro. Less development stuff compared to a lot of the other ones. A lot of it is just stills and like sete here, just like layout for characters and everything. But it's just such a pretty movie. It's kind of hard not to look at it. And they include the script as well in a lot of these art books, which is strange, because Ghibli movies don't really have scripts. They primarily work off the storyboard, so it's a bit strange to include this in the books here. Anyway, next up we have a few books that aren't specifically art books, but they feature a lot of art, so it's kind of hard on where to draw the line. So I've just got some of the Dragon Ball manga here. I've got the 3-in-1 Tankobon volumes. I've got from volume 1 to volume 6, which is original Kid Goku stuff. It's up to the beginning of the Saiyan Saga. So yeah, fun Dragon Ball. I did a video on that as well, so feel free to check that out. I've got one of the bigger volumes, the 3-in-1s I think, of the Pokemon Adventures manga, or Pokemon Special in Japan. I had all of the Gen 1 era stuff, so yellow, up to like volume 6 or whatever it is, as separate volumes back home growing up, and a friend got me this one for my birthday one year, which is just the first story in a nicer quality paper and everything. So that's nice, a fun little story to read. Here is really drawing the line. This is the starting point and turning point books for Miyazaki. It's essentially just a collection of him complaining about stuff. It's not like a biography, it's just him, his essays, interviews and everything. And it's a really good read if you're a big Miyazaki fan. It can be a bit hard to read, especially Turning Point, because it's very tangential. But I love these books. And they do include some art here. So we've got a little comic about the history of in-flight meals, which is a very, very Miyazaki-specific thing. It's a fun comic to look through, and it's got like some sketchbook works of his, And yeah, very cool. Very, very cool. Then we've got Richard Williams' Animator's Survival Kit, which isn't really an art book, it's more just a textbook. But this is another staple that every animator probably has. It's a bit of a tough read, honestly, because it's a lot of just him going off about animation things, and just, like, some of it's really good, and some of it's just him just having fun. So, yeah. Cool, fun theory stuff to read, though, and look at if you're an animator. And then some more manga, a bit more interesting. We've got, I've only got two. I'm not gonna ever probably collect One Piece manga, just because it's too big. But when I was in Japan, I got a few volumes for myself and friends that are from, like, our favorite arcs. And they were super cheap from Norica. They were like $1 each. So I've got Water 7 and Its Lobby here, my favorite arc in One Piece, just some of my favorite moments there, so I wanted to collect that. And they look really great. The covers for the One Piece volumes are immaculate. I love them. Also at Mandarake in Sapporo, I think it was, yeah, I got a volume of Ranking of Kings. So this is an interesting one. It's, or Sama Rankingu in Japanese. It is one of my favorite anime. I haven't read the manga though, because it's actually a webcomic. So I was pretty surprised to find a volume of it here. And it is fun art. I love seeing more simple webcomics and how they get adapted, like Mob Psycho and Osama Ranking. It is very, very fun. But yeah, that's just a special little one. I was glad to find this. A bit more expensive as well, because it's probably a limited release. Then we've got Shunas Journey, or Shuna no Tabi, which is a manga Miyazaki made in, I think, the 70s or early 80s. This was kind of a precursor to Nausicaa, and has things that have inspired Princess Mononoke, Laputa, and then Goro kind of did a half adaptation of it for Tales from Earthsea a little bit. It's very strange, but it's just a short little manga. I found this at the Ghibli store. It was about 660 yen, and I kind of just had to get it, because if I wanted to import it, or just buy an English version, it's like $50, so it was such a steal. And it's really high quality, like, photo paper for the pages. It is just excellent art here. Like, that's really cool from Princess Mononoke. It's got the same name and everything. I haven't properly gone through and translated this yet, but I'm looking forward to doing it. It's a lot of show don't tell storytelling, really. There's not a lot of dialogue or words, but I'm really excited to read it. So, yeah. And then, big boy, got the box set of Nausicaa here. You can also get the Nausicaa watercolor impressions, which I think are more tied to the movie, but Nausicaa is an amazing manga set. These two big hardcover books. I plan on making a video for Nausicaa in a few months, so I'll really save my dialogue for that until that video. But it is a really great manga, possibly one of the best I've ever read, and one of Miyazaki's greatest works of all time, and I think this is a really underread and overlooked work, because the movie's great, but the movie can't compare to the manga once you read it. It is crazy. I'll show briefly, if I can, what some of the artwork is like in here. Try to avoid spoilers. Let's go from early stuff. But it is super detailed. It is just amazing. Expressive, good composition, action, characters, storytelling. Oh, it's so, so good. And this is even beyond the first movie. This is... this is where the movie goes to. Evan is this much in a whole other book. It's an epic. It's one of the best fantasy epics of all time, and it's never talked about. It's crazy. But yes, it's just amazing. Look at this. A real piece of artwork there. And then one more art book. This is a traditional art book, no animation or anime required. This is a collection of watercolor paintings from Judith N.M. Robinson, which I think were done of China in Beijing around 2008. I got this secondhand from a book festival they run in Australia here, a couple times a year. So this was a fun, nice little pickup, because I like watercolor art, I like East Asia. I was doing some research on like Guangzhou, probably pronouncing that wrong for an art piece at the time, so this was really nice. and just life in not Japan, in China. So I think it's a fun little art book. Yeah. And then one last little thing. It's not an art book, but it is tangentially related to what we've been talking about, all the art and everything. Here is a collection from the Ghibli Museum in Mitaka. It is a box of little goodies that I got on my trip recently, well, last year. And it is a collection of postcards and just note cards of the Ghibli Museum's development and concept art. So it's all little watercolor impressions of concept art that Miyazaki did, and Goro probably did a little bit as well. But yeah, the tickets and everything. There's a few copies of each in here, so you can give them to send away to people. The cinema, because you can't film inside, but this is kind of the next best thing, and these are really accurate to what the actual museum is like. So that's probably from the Birth of the Movie exhibit. It's the cool office. Oh, it's such a fun museum, I love it. The cat bus room, it's much bigger in person. It looks really cushy there though. The outside courtyard, which you can actually film. A really nice little area. And the Mugiwara Boshi Cafe, the Straw Hat Cafe. But yeah, that's just all of them now. But it's just a nice little small way to end out this collection showcase. This was a fun little video. I enjoyed sharing all of this with you. If you'd like to see more, I'll gradually build up my collection of art books. Give me a few years though, it might take some time. But I'd love to one day share my video game collection and talk about that, my experiences with them, how I got them, because I have a lot of memories tied to that, and it is a lot bigger as well. But yes, I just wanted to share some of my favorite things here. Collecting art is a big hobby of mine, and art books are just tangible forms of my favorite medium, animation and movies. So I'm glad I was able to share that all with you here today. So yeah, thank you for watching. If you'd like to see more stuff like this in the future, just kind of low-key showcase talky videos, let me know in the comments, or give me a like, and we might do some more in the future. But yes, thank you for watching, and I'll see you all on the next one. Goodbye!